Welcome to the Society of Cryptid Hunters podcast. Josh and David are just two regular guys who share a passion for cryptids and our world's weird and unknown things. Please follow us on your favorite podcast platform and consider supporting us by subscribing or liking our show. Join us on our journey as we delve into the world of cryptozoology.
Welcome to the Society of Cryptid Hunters, the podcast for all your cryptid needs. You've heard the opening, David. It's a great opening, by the way.
Thank you.
I do enjoy that. And if you enjoy the show, we do recommend you find us on your favorite podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or even on iHeartRadio, amongst other things. I think Amazon too, but hey, there's a lot of them out there. So if we're not on your favorite, please let us know. You can also follow us in our wonderful Facebook group. Come on, we got some more people joining us. I'm every day accepting new invitations and joining in the conversation as we talk about cryptids, just like we do on the show, amongst other things that are weird and unusual out there. We also, we're on X, which in every single article I read with the news, when somebody posts a quote that it's X, they always put the little notation that it's formerly known as Twitter. So if you don't know that we are on X, we are actually on X, formerly known as Twitter. So it's kind of like Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince. So
Right.
Yeah, get on X. It's lots of fun on there. It's like the Wild West again. It's a lot of good times. Good sharing of information when it comes to the unknown in cryptozoology, especially if you get into the disclosure stuff. That's fun. Anyway, David, we are kicking off kind of a prelude to our Halloween series. I did talk about this in our previous episode, and I just want to say that some thoughts have been put into these episodes. So make sure you are, David, are you subscribed? And are you hitting your notification button?
Of course I have. I'm probably the first one to do that ever.
Okay, well,
on every
I'm just
episode.
making sure, because you can also find us on YouTube and Rumble, and they have those options. So you don't want to miss an episode, especially when these come out, because the Halloween stuff, I want to say, hand-picked stories that I've found. One of them is a fan favorite, and one some people may not know. But this one, David, we're going to talk about, is one of the coolest named cryptids I think I've came across. It is the Enfield Horror.
I must admit, I had no idea what you were talking about. When I looked this up, I was like, what?
I find these, what's fun about doing this is that we do find the random cryptids, which is, for those of you who are new to the show, cryptozoology is the study of the unknown species.
And
so
we
there
are
might be
cryptozoologist, if you didn't know already.
Yeah. Yep. And if you see something, people have reports, witness statements, things like that, then there's a possibility of an unknown creature, which it dates back to the giant squid, was not believed to be real, and it is. Other creatures that they're finding, large, small birds.
Panda bear was considered a myth until it wandered into an actual town, allegedly.
Yeah, now they're all over the place because we have captured them, which is fantastic. But yeah, so that's kind of a little rundown of cryptozoology. But we're going to talk about the Enfield Horror, which back in April of 1973, in this town of Enfield, Illinois, which is the southern part of Illinois. It's kind of in between, it's kind of like in the middle, a little closer to Missouri. So southern part, it's going to be down there. If you're in Indiana and you're in Evansville, if you just go almost kind of a little northwest, you're going to get into Illinois and you're going to hit the little town of Enfield. So not a large town by any means, but one that is important because of this mysterious creature that was once thought to be seen in April of 1973. So witnesses describe the creature as having 3 legs, gray skin, and glowing red eyes. It's also said to be around 4 to 5 feet tall and had short, stubby arms, and they had claws on the end of them, which is creepy as heck. Like a mini T-Rex, mutated. I don't know. But yeah, so this first sighting to go more in depth with it was my young boy who reported that this strange looking creature was trying to break into its home, which again would creep the living out of me. So I'm not sure how old the boy was. I'm not sure,
It was also his sister.
you know. Oh, was his sister too? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm guessing.
they were both home alone, and their dad was a single dad, and he was out, and they were home alone, and he came home.
uh,
I don't know the ages though.
Yeah. So I don't know the age. I'm guessing it's in the evening. Most of these things are.
It was
Creatures
during
don't.
Johnny Carson, apparently. I don't know when Johnny Carson came on,
Oh yeah. Well,
but
that's in the evening.
right.
That's the Tonight Show. Yeah. So yeah. So I know we have some other sightings that occurred, and I don't want to make sure we don't overlap our sightings here, but just real quick, some theories before we get to this other sighting suggest that this Enfield Horror, also known as the Enfield Monster. I like Enfield Horror. Sounds way cooler. And
Mm,
plus,
really.
it's almost Halloween time, so you got to have some horror to it. You got to
Right.
watch how you say that too. Horror.
Right.
Yeah, people always like, "What kind of movies do you watch?" Uh, yeah, you got to correct them. You got to
Yeah,
correct
good
them.
point.
Yeah, horror movies, you weirdo. Okay, so
Right.
um, some theories suggest it's just a wild animal, maybe an escaped kangaroo. Don't know where you get kangaroos in Illinois, but a zoo, I guess. If there's one close by. I'm not sure. Or possibly a misidentified ape. Speaking of apes, David, do you have or not? It's not HBO Max anymore. It's just Max, right?
Mm. Do I have it?
Yeah.
No, I got rid of it. I never watched it.
Oh, okay. There's a show on there now called Chimp Lovers, I believe it is.
Oh, I've heard about this. It's called Chimp Love.
Chimp Love. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it's like the new Tiger King, but more violent.
Oh, yeah. So, not endorsing it. I haven't watched it yet, but not really a cryptid thing, but that ties into the ape. So, I don't know. Maybe one of those is what the Enfield Horror looks like. So we'll tie it in that way.
Right. Yeah, I
We'll do what
gotta
we
agree
can.
with that.
So others believe that this could just have been an example of a nice hoax or just mass hysteria. You know how that works, i.e. the Miami Mall, things
I
like
love
that.
that story.
Yeah. Oh, I was talking about that earlier. There was somebody I brought it up, and we were talking about we started talking about uh EVP sessions and stuff, and
Mm.
I had to tell them about some things that I know about in the past. And then I brought up oh yeah, well the Miami Mall, and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, so I had to like do the rundown.
Let me
But
tell
anyway,
you, friend.
let me tell you about the Miami Mall aliens. They had a portal.
Oh yeah, don't get me started.
I know you love portals. You need a T-shirt that says "I heart portals."
Yeah, well, we'll get to
Yeah,
that too
and
later.
I get to that later. Yeah, yeah. So despite the various explanations, the Info Hoarder is just a really cool story. I mean, I didn't tell a lot of the other sightings. You'll get into that here in just a minute, but
Right.
it's a fascinating and it's a mysterious part of what's out there in the cryptid world. So it is not. I wouldn't say if I were to rank cryptids, it's not a top tier one. But people that know about cryptids and follow cryptozoology, it's definitely one that it's on there. It's in my database. I got it down. So, but yeah, that's where we're at with that. So,
Well, all right. So the two kids that were alone at home, right? They heard scratching at the door, and then they had like one of these window units, um, like window air conditioner units, and I guess it was scratching at that. And the kid opened the door, and he sees this weird snarling, um, uh, three-legged beast that had these glowing eyes, and he said it smelled and it was making weird noises. So of course he was scared. Again, they were old enough to be left at home, which I think I was left at home for the first time when I was like 12. So and I think the sister was younger and the son was older. The father comes home and he's like, "What's wrong, son?" And he was like, "There was this crazy three-legged monster outside." And I guess the dad wasn't like he was like, "What's wrong with the air conditioner?" He's like, "He messed up the air conditioner." And I guess the dad wasn't mad. He thought it was a hilarious. situation because he thought it was funny that his kid was scared. Because I don't know if it's because he was not young enough to be scared anymore or what, but I guess he wasn't really upset about the air conditioner, but he's like whatever. And he opens up the door and this thing's right there and it's snarling on him. He's like, "Oh man, there's this crazy three-legged snarling thing." So I
And
guess
then he
he
turned
goes,
around and said it only had two legs
well, no,
because
he
his
goes
third
and
leg
gets
was a little long.
he actually goes inside and he gets his piece. For y'all don't know what a piece is. He goes and gets his 22 pistol. And he comes back out and he shoots at it. Allegedly, he hits it, and then he shoots four more times, right? Well, the thing about this is that he alleges that it jumped 50 feet. Um, so there's some speculation on how far it was jumping, but yeah, it jumped like um four times or something. And got to the
Jeez,
span of 50 feet. Let me bring up exactly.
it's frickin' Super Mario.
Yeah, yeah,
Monster
yeah.
Mario.
Yeah, it said
Watch me.
they said that he approximates it's about 17 feet per hop, that he got a span of 50 feet in an extremely
Dang.
short amount of time. And it shouldn't have been that fast. Um, he some allege that he said that they were pink eyes, with the small arms, three legs, smell bad. He when his son originally said that he had seen this monster, he was like he told his son it was probably a raccoon or a bobcat because I guess they have bobcats indigenous to that area, and of
Oh,
course there's
sure.
raccoons everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Well, yeah, raccoons mess like they like to knock over my trash can.
Oh, they're trash pandas.
Yeah, trash man, right? So there's that, and he called the police. The police come, and the police are like in their police report they said that he was sober and didn't seem crazy. Um, so the next issue that came out is uh, there was a kid named oh what was his name Gregory. This kid named Gregory, right? It was what was it?
Gregory.
It was like 2 or 3 days later. He's like he's like outside playing, and all of a sudden he sees this thing that's got three legs. He's like, oh no, there's a scary three-legged monster. And he said that this monster came over and started scratching at his shoes and messed up his shoes. And then he ran off or whatever. And he,
Hmm.
called the police and they put it in the paper or whatever. Well, the thing about this is this like any of the stories that we bring up, it brings up, local people start talking and the local lore starts and you start
Yes.
getting these true believers in the area,
Oh, yeah.
right? Well, so there was a local radio station, right? Um, on Sunday, May 6th, Rick Rainbow is the radio host. Rick Rainbow, then director of the radio station WKI in Como, Indiana. I guess it's fairly close. Was searching in the area with his three friends. Um, so basically, like he took this camera crew and like somebody to be able to record audio. And he claims that he found an ape-like creature, but allegedly he got recording of it, and
Oh,
he said it sounded like a banshee. But in everything I was researching, everybody's like, we don't know where the recording is, and we haven't heard it. I was like, well, that's convenient.
yeah. I just looked up Rick Rainbow. Yeah, definitely radio personality known for his work in the paranormal and cryptid community. He gained notoriety in 1970s and reported sightings of the Enfield Horror. So yeah, he has a big account on everything too. That's cool.
Yeah. However, Rick Rambo claimed to have recorded the creature's eerie shriek and as it ran away from the tape recorder, despite investigations world-renowned cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman, who is said to have heard the creature's cries. The attention that the sightings received eventually died down, and the creature hasn't been seen since. Um,
Wait, did you say Lauren Coleman got involved with this too?
yeah, um,
Wow.
right. So,
Okay. There we
um,
go. Here we go.
so that was the initial thing was the 25th, and then about 2 weeks later was the there was a sighting where this guy saw it on the railroad tracks, and I guess he wasn't crazy either. But so the cool thing was, um, there was these monster hunters that it was these guys, right? And they basically start a posse to go and kill this thing. And
Wow.
allegedly these guys just get really drunk and they go and find it and they start shooting at things and they say, "Ah, we shot it and it ran off." And they were talking about how fast it was and how it jumped really high and stuff. And I guess, um, so they got cited and arrested over this, and they got ticketed for shooting at things in the woods, which I think is so awesome.
Well,
I
the
don't
good thing
know.
they're monster hunters and not the Society of Cryptid Hunters. I mean,
Right,
I'd hate to
right.
tarnish our name in 1970.
Clearly, they're amateurs.
Clearly,
Yeah, I mean, you got to do your research. They just went out there with a bunch of shotguns and beer, and they're like, "We're gonna find this thing." Boom.
that's how it's
Um,
done
right. I mean, but if you're gonna
in
do it,
every movie. That's how it's done.
yeah, I mean, that is the start of like half of the '80s horror movies.
No, I know, I know. I just want
So,
to do a little backup really quick for our listeners. This when I brought up Lauren Coleman, it perked my ears a little bit. Just so you don't know, so those of you who don't know who Lauren Coleman is, he's a prominent American cryptozoologist. I would say probably the most well-known cryptozoologist. Because he's definitely written over 40 books in his career covering all this type of stuff, and he does run the International Cryptozoology Museum in Portland, Maine. So one of the biggest, there's a Bigfoot book that he wrote, the true story of apes in America, Mysterious America, and Cryptozoology A to Z. So definitely the guy to look into when you get into cryptozoology and you want to know more. You should know who Lauren is, and he's still around, and he still does speaking engagements. So if you can ever catch him in your area, highly recommend it. Um, Somebody to definitely check out. But yeah,
so let's talk about what some people believe this is, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think when you sent me this story, you're like, oh, people think it's like an ape that escaped. I think that you alluded to earlier when you brought up the chimp love or whatever it's called, ape
Yeah.
chimp, whatever. I
Yeah,
haven't
which has
finished it
nothing to do with
myself.
the infield horror. I know,
Right.
but I
Well,
digress.
so what I was reading is a lot of people think it was a kangaroo, and I want to tell you a kangaroo story. I don't know if I've told you my kangaroo story. Um, if I
I don't
hadn't
know.
brought if I hadn't brought it up in this podcast, well, I'm going to bring up the story right now. So I was in I was outside of Brisbane, Australia, and where I was at was probably about an hour away from Brisbane, right? Um, by a airfield base, right? So we're out in the middle of the night, and we're coming back from sampling some of Australia's finest beer. And we had a designated driver as responsible adults that are not out there trying to,
Not like the monster hunters. No,
right, not like the monster hunters,
not
exactly.
bad. Monster hunters bad.
Right. So we're on the way back, and my friend gets out, and he sees a a kangaroo on the side of the road. So he gets out. He's like, oh! As soon as he gets out, this thing's probably only like 4 feet away from him, right? And I swear, just like in the cartoons, the kangaroo literally put his fist up and went fist up on him. And I was like,
Oh,
what? And it jumped up really quick. And when they like get big, I swear it was almost as tall as me when it did that.
wow.
Um, they were way bigger than I thought they were. I call them like the deer of Australia because you see them dead on the side of the road everywhere
Oh,
because they jump in front of cars, just like in America where there's always deers that
you're running out. Yeah,
just run
yeah.
out. So the same thing. Well, as soon as this thing bowed up on my friend, he screamed and ran back in the car, and I was right behind him because I was like, "Oh, cool, a kangaroo." But like, I don't know if you've seen that video on the internet of the guy fighting a kangaroo because it was attacking his dog, and he
Yeah.
punches it a couple times. Like kangaroos are, I actually ate a kangaroo too while I was there, which they are not good at all. It tastes like if you threw beef down on the ground and like around a bunch of dirt
It
and
doesn't.
then threw it on the grill.
They look muscular. It's not even lean. It
I
looks.
didn't, I mean, I'm sure somebody likes it out there, but I thought it
Yeah,
was disgusting.
yeah.
I did not like it. Well, so, and what they think is like the reason why they say three legs is it's like kangaroos will like kind of sit on their back tail,
Yeah.
um, so where it almost uses it as a third leg. And I was reading a bunch of accounts that some people think that there was a circus in town, or not a circus, but they have like these railroads that the circus use, and maybe
Yeah.
a kangaroo had come off the railroad during that. I don't know,
Possibility.
but the thing is like I think you'd be able to tell. I guess if it was like really dark and it was far away, maybe it was foggy, you'd be able to not tell. And um, but yeah, I mean they do hop and they are super fast though too. So I mean I guess there's that side of it.
Well, I
Um,
got this for you. I got this for you. So, full-grown kangaroo, they can leap up to 10 feet high in the air and cover distances up to 30 feet in a single bound.
so a kangaroo can jump 25 feet with one leap.
Well, 25 to 30, I guess, because mine says 30. My research says
So
30.
what I
But
was reading, a deer can jump 25 feet, um, and a rabbit can jump 9 feet, and a house cat can jump 5 to 10 feet. So they were saying this was
wow.
somewhere between 17 and
Yeah.
20 to
So,
50 per hop. So
but it's
you
also what 4 to 5 feet tall. So if
right.
it's a smaller kangaroo, it's not doing 25. It's going to do like 17.
So let me talk to you about this kid, right? The kid that hit with his shoes. So this is all alleged. So this is what I was researching. So if it's not right, I don't apologize because this is just what I was reading. So this kid, right? He later
Don't mind
keeps
our research. You do what
yeah
you're told.
yeah exactly. I mean it's
Yeah.
not, I'm just reading. If don't get
You can
mad at
look it
me.
up yourself if you're concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
Give us a comment.
I didn't even know what this was until a week ago. Anyway, leave me alone. So so this
Hard research here.
yeah, so this 10-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Um, his mom was mad about the whole thing because I guess it generated a lot of news. So he apologizes to a local university, that it was all not true. So allegedly, and I don't know if this is true or not, his girlfriend shot him later and he
The
died.
boy?
Yes.
10-year-old?
Not, I mean, not when he was 10, like when he was a
Oh.
young adult. Like
Oh, so when he got older, he said it was
he
all
was,
alive all these
he was
years.
believe he was in his 20s when it happened. Don't quote me on that. Again, it was I didn't write down his age, but he was young when he got shot by his
Allegedly, it
girlfriend.
was shot by his girlfriend, right?
Right, which
Yeah.
will bring me back to something later that I'll segue into a little quite a little bit later. But um so and again the original dad was he wasn't he wasn't like a recluse. He wasn't a weird person apparently. He was a single dad, which at that time wasn't not very common. But I guess he was not crazy. Um, so it wasn't like some kook in the end of town that just came up with this weird story. And there was several other people. There is the crazy drunks, which I mean you could probably say that they were out shooting and then somebody got upset that they were shooting close to their land. They're like, oh, we're trying to kill this local monster. That's why we were out there doing it. I mean, who knows? But um I think it's hilarious that what I didn't look at pop culture in this. Did you happen to look at anything regarding that?
Yeah, of course. I got lots of stuff. Not a
Well,
lot. There's not a lot on it, but
before you get to pop culture, I was gonna say like there's way more people into this than I even thought because like I had never heard of this, right? But
yeah.
there's probably 100 videos of it on YouTube. I couldn't find like a sighting video because I tried to find it.
No.
I mean, if there is one, have somebody send it to me. But there's so many people that do their own documentaries. I watched like people did documentaries where they go out there and they interview people in the town. The town. Have you ever been to Illinois?
Yeah, yeah. I've been through it.
I
I
figured
may
you
have been
had.
through Enfield, didn't even realize it.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I'm not surprised you being up there in Ohio. I
I
figured
mean, I was just through Illinois. What last June? So,
so I've
oh yeah.
been to Great Lakes, Illinois, but I've only been there in the Chicago airport, but I've never been that far south. At least I don't
Mhm.
think I have.
Yeah,
But I've seen video of the town and just looks like a small town,
yeah.
small like what do you call it? train town, that where the train
Yeah,
passes through.
sure, sure.
Uh, so tell me a little bit about this pop culture. I want to hear about
So,
that.
I mean, there's not a ton of stuff on the Enfield Horror. Surprisingly, with the story, you think would be something neat that somebody could embellish into something. I do want to note that the Enfield Horror sometimes is confused with the Enfield Poltergeist, which is
Oh,
a
in England, right? The link,
yeah, it's
right?
a
Yeah.
famous case of supernatural activity that happened in London in the 1970s as well. And so there's been a lot of so it's cool to know because of this that it has been subject to several adaptations. The Enfield Haunting was a 2015 TV drama with Timothy Spall and Matthew McFadden, if you know who they are. Also, The Conjuring 2, a Hollywood blockbuster that features paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Talks about that. So we don't ever talk about paranormal on here, but that's the only time. Well, we talk about the paranormal, but not the ghost portion of it.
Right.
But that is just noted that the Enfield Poltergeist could easily be confused with
Yeah.
Enfield
Matter of
Horror.
fact, all the documentaries I was watching, they had like a disclaimer. It was like, this is not what we're talking about.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
don't confuse the two. Yeah.
yeah. So if you wanted to find any movies, there really isn't any specific movies other than probably fan-made documentaries like you've been watching.
Yeah.
Books, there is the Enfield Horror series by Ron Ripley. It delves into supernatural horror featuring scary ghosts and haunted houses. So if you're interested in that, I'm sure it's on Amazon, whatever. I mean, you go buy it. We don't make money if you can buy it, so I'm just letting you know it's there. Um, but there are a lot of cryptids that are similar to this that I've discovered as well. In terms of the mysterious and bizarre nature, just to name a few for you, David. One of them, and I know you've heard some of these, but the Dover Demon, who we've never brought up on the show yet, is sighted in Dover, Massachusetts in 1977. Described as having a large head, glowing eyes, long thin limbs. Like the Enfield Horror, it was seen by multiple witnesses in a short period of time. Another one is our good buddy, the Mothman, famous in Point Pleasant, West Virginia during the 1960s.
Wait, did you
Described,
just say the Mothman again? Is this
yeah, well,
another
it's on the list.
episode bringing up the Mothman?
I know.
Oh
Described
boy.
as a large winged creature with glowing red eyes. The Flatwoods Monster, also known as the Braxton County Monster, was reported in 1952 in West Virginia. Described it as a tall humanoid figure with spade-shaped head and glowing eyes. Another one, the Jersey Devil, legendary creature from the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, said to have a horse-like head, bat wings, and hooves. But it's known for its eerie cries and elusive nature. And of course, one of our favorites is the Loveland Frogman, reported in Loveland, Ohio. So described as a humanoid frog or a lizard-like creature, and yeah, it's just a little creature thing like Enfield Horror. So yeah, it's just the imagination that all these cryptids bring together. There's always a little piece of everything if you're catching on to what these cryptids are and what they're doing throughout all the ones we've talked about. But yeah, there's a lot of books on all those creatures for sure. Enfield, I found one. But yeah, so if you're interested in that or any of these other cryptids, we did talk about some ad nauseum that of the list I just mentioned. So
Well, Josh, there's two things I wanted to bring up. I'll tell you later what I think it is, because when I was reading this, it was the first thing that came to my head, and it's not going to be what you thought. But first, I wanted to bring this up because I had forgot to bring it up earlier. Between the years of 1941 and 1942, there was a string of similar sightings in the small village of Mount Vernon, which is ironically less than 40 miles away from Enfield. I don't know how to say it. Is it Enfield? Yeah.
Enfield, Enfield.
These encounters involved a mysterious leaping beast that terrorized the local people and supposedly were responsible for numerous animal deaths and mutilations in the region. The So I always like to say in these segments, I would do a segment like maybe it's aliens. Well, I'm gonna go tell you, I don't think it's aliens, and I'm not gonna say it's aliens, but I am gonna tell you what my theory of it is, which is not aliens. I think it's a hellhound.
A hellhound.
A
Ah.
hellhound. When I first heard this, I was like, well, maybe the two back legs are closer to each other, and it has these glowing red eyes, and it's stand in its stature. And hellhounds aren't. So I was gonna tell you, Josh, that we can talk later offline, but when I started doing some research on a hellhound, which I figured out it's a fantastical creature,
Mm-mm.
that there's 7 different kinds, and they're all over Europe. So I think we should do an episode on that later. That's not what we're going to talk about, but I think that's something to put on the back burner. But the reason I think it is because one of the ideas of the hellhound is it stands guard at a gate, goes in and out of, what do you think I'm about to say? A portal. A portal to either hell or some other dimension or some other plane of existence, but it stands in between those and jumps back and forth. And maybe it just happened to pass through in that area and it got lost. But
Mm.
there's when I started doing the research on a hellhound, there is so many different countries that also have a depiction of what a hellhound is that I couldn't believe it. Like there's so many different religions that bring up what
Mm.
their idea of a hellhound is. Norse mythology, Christianity, like there's so many that bring up this idea of it. And and the reason I think this is like when I was reading that, I was like, oh, it's got these red eyes and it's like, out there snarling. It brought up like the Hound of the Baskervilles when it felt like I was
Yeah.
reading
Yeah, I
Sherlock
was just
Holmes
thinking that
books
right
or
now.
something.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and I think the story's cool. I think the fact that it's not very big, it smells and it snarls at people. I think the kid was probably, oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. The kid, later they think the kid said that it destroyed his shoes because he had bad shoes and he wanted his parents to buy him new shoes, and they think that's why he even said that he made the whole thing up so he would get a new
Wow.
pair of shoes.
Yeah.
But as I was reading this, I was thinking, you know, podcasts, right? You and me grew up listening to the radio. I mean, TV was there, but we would also listen to radio. People used to listen to the radio.
Oh, quite frequently. Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
great grandparents sat in front of the radio because they didn't have a TV.
Yeah.
Um, and when you and me were growing up, talk radio was very much a thing. Sports talk radio is still kind of a thing, but
Yeah.
in the 90s, people would call in. They had these, they had love lines where you'd call in and be like, "This is
Yeah.
my problem," and the host would be like, "Well, this is what you should do about it."
Yeah.
Obviously, I always bring up Art Bell, who is the originator of what you and me talk about, in my opinion. Um, but I used to, well, when I was reading this and I was listening to about this guy Rick Rainbow, I was like, man, I kind of miss that whole era of listening to a radio and hearing people like different kinds of topics that you could just turn on and hear.
Mm.
Granted, now you with podcasting, you like what we do, you can just download it and listen to it anytime in your car.
Whatever topic you want, it's
But
you'll
I
find
think
something.
between the time between where radio stopped and I think podcasting really blew up in the last, like, 5 years or whatever. I think there was that gap of like that interaction that I really missed. Which was gonna lead me to my question I was gonna ask you. They didn't know I was gonna ask you is, Josh, if you were a radio DJ, what would your radio voice, excuse me, what would your radio name be?
Oh, it's funny you asked that because I back in the day, yeah, like we did grow up with that, and had the uh we had the in Ohio it's called like 93Q, and I was like, they had all the jams, the top 40 hits on there back in there. Then we had Jumping Country, that was it. But then they changed it to something else, and I don't remember. But we always pretended we had like a little DJ standing, like my friends. We'd build up our own little table and just play songs on whatever and everything. Um, and we had a guy on there. His name was Johnny D. So Johnny D was on the 93Q. Actually, my mom met him because he was dating someone where she worked or something. But he was a really nice guy. So whenever I got on there and pretended I was a DJ, I was Joshy D. So that's definitely what it would be.
I actually think that's pretty awesome.
Joshy
Well,
D.
I don't
Welcome to the radio show. We're going to bring you great hits with Van Halen, Motley Crue, and Poison. Here we go. Sit back as we count down the top 20 tonight on your Friday night hits.
I'd rather listen to Metallica, but
Well, Were they ever top 40 until like Enter Sandman? I don't
Oh, gross. Anyway, well, so I don't I don't have like a name that I would have come up with, but I remember people were telling me like, I'm gonna go to college and be a DJ. I'm like, I don't know if I'm that cool to do that. And now here I am recording my voice. Well,
But
so
yeah, but it's once a week. It's not like nightly. Like, could you imagine doing
no.
this every day?
Well, so like I've been saying, I've been
I mean,
really
if
in,
it's like they're paying you good money, I mean, that's what you do, right?
well, like so I've been really into listening to these Art Bell vault back from the early 2000s, late 90s, some of the ones that before he passed away, but yeah, I was thinking about that. Like they're doing this 5 times a week. You know what I mean? That's
Oh yeah.
crazy. Well,
Actually, I think they record it all in one night and then they just put it all out there. Well, no, they do live calls. I don't know. Anyway,
anyway, so do you think it's a kangaroo
I
or an
actually
ape?
think it's a shapeshifter, and we're gonna leave it at that.
I like that. Yeah, in and out of a portal. Cool. So, Josh, before we
Yeah,
close
yeah.
this out,
Portals. It's always about the portals.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
obviously.
All right.
So on the end of this episode, I wanted to tell you that I will be squatching next weekend. For people that don't know, I am going to go into the mountains here in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm going to be taking a GoPro and obviously my camera phone. And I'm gonna take some video and I'm gonna take
Mm.
some audio out there, and maybe I'll find them. If I don't, either way, I'll be posting the videos on our Facebook channel, so look out for that. Uh, I'll let you preview all of them before we
I was
let them
just
out.
gonna say, when you do that, make sure you stay in focus.
Okay, well, yeah.
Well, I
Also
mean,
gonna,
come on.
I'm also gonna take some bear mace with me because that is what I'm actually afraid of out there, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
besides
yeah,
the
yeah.
point. But yeah,
Yeah,
so be
I
on
hear
the
you.
lookout for that. That's next weekend. I'll be sending it to you a week from Monday. So you'll get to see that. And if you don't get it, then I got eaten by a bear.
Ah, well, we'll keep our eyes and ears open. And while you do that, keep your all ears open for the next episode when they come out for Halloween. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment if you could. It'd be great. We love our fans. We love the Society of Cryptids. What do we have? The Cryptid Hunter Club? Is that what we called it? Anyway, but that's the group of friends that we have on the Facebook page. So we got more people liking it and joining every day. Just we thank you so much for your support, and we're just gonna keep talking cryptids, and we hope you enjoy it.
Take it easy, Josh.
All right.
Bye bye.